and Liam here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's We're Afraid of the Dark. We are past the halfway point of season 3 now. It's episode number 7, The Tale of the Carved Stone. Are you afraid of the dark? A talk through and review of each episode step by step. This one written by Susan Kim and directed by a Goosebumps favourite, Ron Oliver, which is always a positive thing. But alongside that positive thing is a reoccurring character. This is Sado's third appearance, which is always a good sign most of the time. Interesting as well, this is the first mention of Bobo, Sado's competition and rival. Some other interesting stuff. John White would later star in the Goosebump episode, The Cuckoo Clock of Doom, playing again a boy who experiences time travel. That's funny.
I knew I recognized him. I was trying to pinpoint it, but yeah, straight away, there you go.
Well, perhaps like more than that, though. Frank Gorshin, best known for his portrayal of the Riddler in the classic 1960s Batman television show, is in this episode. As soon as he popped, I was like, oh shit, how did they get him?
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall actually watching that, but of course, like I knew this actor had to be somebody, you know.
Oh yes, and he delightfully hams this up as well. That's just him. Richard Dumont has stated that this is one of his favourite episodes that he was in. How about that, eh?
Oh, nice.
Yep, so there you go. Sado himself said this is one of his favourite. And I think that's because he gets quite a... I think he gets sort of meat to the bones in this one. You know, he gets a little bit more to do.
Yeah, he's not just shopkeeper of the magic shop. You know, he does get a bit more involved. Yeah.
According to writer Susan Kim, she had previously pitched a few stories to DJ McKell. DJ McKell being a showrunner, of course. But this was actually the first of her stories to be accepted and used. So that's nice. She got one used.
Good job.
Okay, Aidan Pendleton as Alison Denny, John White as Thomas Jefferson Bradshaw, Richard Dumont as Sado, Francois Mazzatini as Don, and Frank Gorshin as Brother Septimus. And that's our cast. A unique series of names. It is a bit of a weird one, folks. It is magic-based as well.
Who could be telling it, I wonder?
Oh, I know. What a shocker, right? Admittedly, I was like, oh, great. He's got a fucking track record, hasn't he?
No, it's not a good, not a good run, eh?
So Kiki, Sam, Frank, Tucker, and Betty Ann all headed to the campfire together, but stop in the tracks when they see a person standing by the fire. A creepy person in a long black cloak and a wide black hat. They suspect it's got to be Gary, as it's his story tonight, but in classic scary style. He just wanders up next to him and goes, hey guys, what's going on? Love that scare. I'm always a big fan of that trope.
That's good, yeah.
So who is at the campfire? It's nobody, as the wind blows the hat off, revealing his stand. It was all a Gary lampoon, a simple Gary lampoon. Gary puts on the cloak and hat and explains that the hat and cloak were worn by a group of monks from hundreds of years ago. Right, you freaking... No, it fucking wasn't, you liar, because they would not have lasted, unless they'd been fucking hermetically sealed. Liar. He's lying already. Bad storytelling. Legend says these monks were evil and had the power to take over people's minds and to control the forces of nature. Okay? They're not around anymore, but what if they had so much magical power they could learn to control the one thing that could make them dangerous forever? Time. Okay. That's a really weird setup. They're all powerful, but they're also not powerful. But what if they were even more powerful? What, Gary? Why?
Well, I know it's only a small detail, and I mentioned it in another episode we did, but it's really glaring. And in this moment, that Gary has no lenses in his glasses.
Yes.
The real direct shot of his face, and obviously with the fire there, they'd be reflecting back, but it's really obvious. Yeah, it's only a small thing. I mean, I understand why they didn't do it because of the reflection, but still.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I am, unfortunately, because of you highlighted this, I can't stop seeing it now.
Mm.
So yes, it's a Gary story, folks. Buckle up. Someone for the approval in Midnight Society. This is the tale of the carved stone. Alison, Denny, and her family have just moved to a new town. And being the new kid, she's not made any friends yet. Haven't heard this one before.
Never.
But Gary says in his voiceover that what she didn't know was how dangerous making a new friend was going to be. Alison is sitting by a window, miserable, when she notices that a person who lived in a room at one time before her carved the words TJB was here into the sort of wooden seat by her window. She laughs and wishes that TJB was still here to keep her company. But she then hears voices out of the window and sees a group of teenagers walking by, and one of them drops a pair of joke eyeglasses. Seeing that, she calls out to them, but they don't hear her, so she races down, but they're already way down the road, and she ends up accidentally stepping on the glasses and breaking them. Obviously, figuring that returning them will be a good way to meet people, she goes to a local magic shop for a replacement. Listen, I don't hate this as a setup for her to get to the shop. I think the desperation she's got to like make friends is weird, like the legging it out of there and stuff like that, like and so on. And like the idea that anybody would be carrying these glasses around is like a thing as well is funny because they're basically eyes on springs, those kind of things, folks. But I think the setup to get her from here to Sardo's shop, but also for him to then sell her the thing that she needs, it's all done pretty straightforwardly. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, they set her up as like quite a pathetic sort of gullible type character, so you immediately know that when going into there, she's going to basically buy what he's selling, basically. So
On that fucking front, I don't care, right? If I was in that shop and I'm 99% sure he can sell me something, not because he's so convincing, but because of his confidence and bluster, I feel like I'd just be like, oh fuck it, give me it. Just give. Do you know what I mean? Like right. There's a sequence coming. The sequence coming up, folks, might be up there as one of my favorite just back and forth sequences of an entire, not just a Sardo episode, but of all of them. It's where two very talented people and with good writing just deliver and play off each other in style. I want to say now, ahead of time, that Aiden Pendleton is brilliant in this, and that she's as strong as Sardo, who is at his finest here.
yeah, I completely agree with what you just said.
It is Sardo's magic mansion, and inside she hears him talking to someone about buying something in the back. We hear the sellers disgruntled and threatens to take all their business off over to Uncle Bobo's House of Magic, and this results in Sardo agreeing to his demands. Again, just the fact you don't see anyone here and the voices. This is comedy gold, and like you're used to him already. And I love that Gary in theory, Gary's telling his character like he's a friend, and I always wonder like. Who did Gary base him off? This person exists. And I wonder, right? I've got a theory here that this character is basically what his father is.
Wow. No, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So his father owns a magic shop. We know this. This is Gary's backstory. We've been to Gary's shop. I think there's elements of Sardo, probably exaggerated. Where's he found the inspiration from? I reckon his father's a little bit of a cheeky charlatan who kind of fobs people off in that way. I reckon he stood in that shop, watched his dad do this, and it's inspired this character.
It's a great shout.
So yes, realizing there's a customer, Sardo comes out and greets Allison in his usual flamboyant way, and including that Sardo, no accent on the dough. No, no Mr. accent on the dough. I always forget which way it is, yeah, but it's that. But hilariously, he's all flamboyant, and do you need this, and do you need that? And she said, no, I just need a replacement for this. And his demeanor really just, it's his disappointment, and that's all she wants. Dude, it's a fucking sale.
Yeah.
While she awkwardly tries to get her money out, he realizes that she's new in town and sets about trying to take advantage of it. This is just brilliant. From her trying to get the money out and dropping it, and him just kind of watching, and then he's kind of, you see the cogs whirring. He's like, she doesn't know. Like, she won't know my reputation. I can take advantage of this.
Definitely. So much subtlety to his like performance, you know. You can see he's playing like mind chess, man.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And he tries to sell her a popularity potion. Looking through, basically, he decides to just use the chest of trinkets he just bought. And he's flicking through it. And he ends up finding a little black carved stone and tells her that it's an Egyptian friendship stone. And to make it work, he tells her to close her eyes, hold in her hands, and recite the incantation, Amrak Ritualin Ra. And Allison is very excited. And after some money haggling, classic Sardo stuff, she buys it. And on her way out, we see she's being watched by a shady-looking man all dressed in black. And I wrote here in my notes, this entire section is fucking fantastic. Rarely do I feel the need to write that and spell it out, but I wrote it out. I loved it. One of my favorite parts of the entire episode and the show, probably this season as well. The back and forth, the comedy elements, the acting, the story basing, and how he built up this stone. We know it's nonsensical, but we know it's likely to have some power that he simply doesn't understand yet, because that is what we do. I am more than happy to see predictability play out because it's exciting and it's fun, it's eccentric. And I was like, oh, they use Sada really well. Little would I know they would continue to use him just as strongly in this. Great writing, great acting.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've seen a Sardo-centric episode, then you pretty much do know what to expect from this opening. But personally, like you, I'm not upset because it's always a fun time when he's on screen doing his thing. So it's always enjoyable. And to get a little bit further ahead, I know you already praised the actor coming up and Sardo himself, but there is a scene coming up that I think has the funniest moment today in the show coming up between the two characters. So.
Later at home, Alison watches some kids outside, decides to try an incantation with a stone. She can't quite remember the words, but it doesn't matter. Some teenagers arrive. Got a little bit Army of Darkness vibe here, but it's just me. It's not actually a sort of thing going on here. But what I think here, they do a really good job of playing this off where I'm like, oh shit, that stone worked. Those teenagers have just stopped. But she answers, and it turns out she called them over. She rang them up and called them over. And one called Don greets her. She called them over because she wanted to give them the glasses. But one of the girls is a real dick about it. The girl here, like in it, she's credited as like bully or like mean girl or something like that. But yeah, she's a real dick, and Alison is rightfully her, even though Don is a bit nice to her. And obviously afterwards, she's unimpressed by the stone that Sardo sold her. Another good scene. Yeah, it shows Alison's desperation, but it's borderline pathetic to a degree, and that almost
Mhm.
makes her a little kind of sad. Like it's a little cringe. The scene's a little cringy that she called him all the way over just to give him some joke glasses.
That's the
But then you've
exact
got
word.
that yeah, but then you've got that bitch girl being an absolute cow, like to the point where it's almost a caricature. For me, it all works quite nice. And Don being kind of a sweet, nice boy as well, yet he's still hanging with that girl. So you kind of can't trust him, like, because he doesn't turn around and say to her, hey, shut up, don't be mean. He's just like, hey, you know, I think all of this works in a very sort of like traditional way. And I liked it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So Alison now returns to Sardo's shop and finds it wrecked. She calls out that Sardo is currently being held hostage by the man in black in the back room. And this is where you get two fantastic actors just playing off each other in hilarious fashion. Because basically, this is obviously Frank Gershon, who speaks in Sardo's voice, telling her to leave, which she does. And now the man in black demands he wants to know where the amulet is. He wants the amulet, claiming that it was in the chest that Sardo got. Sardo, interesting, plays it dumb until the man in black tells him to look into his eyes and use his power to hypnotize him. When it takes effect, he tells Sardo that he seeks the amulet of Ankara, and Sardo reveals all, including where Alison lives. So yeah, that's an entire. I mean, it's just fucking fabulous, isn't it?
Mm. It's so good, and this is the scene I was talking about that I think is possibly the funniest moment, and it involves Sardo when she comes into the shop and calls out Mr. Sardo, and even though he's being held hostage by this guy, he's got his hand over his mouth. He needs to correct her so badly that she's got his name wrong that he pulls away to shout out the correction. That's it, not to ask for help or like call the police. He just has to correct her that she's got his name wrong. I just absolutely love that moment. And yeah,
It's
them as a double act is just really funny stuff.
I want to add as well because he gets a hand slapped across his mouth following it, and he actually rolls his eyes as well. Like it's like, oh, like that is just brilliant. And that's one of the things you don't write. That's where the actors are just doing it and playing it off brilliantly. And yeah, the fact that this might be like this. Bear in mind, they barely share any screen time together. I cannot believe the dynamic between these two actors. It's just two very talented people who are used to doing comedy and kind of know how to make even a tense, uncomfortable scene work for all audiences, where the children will laugh at the silliness and the antics and stuff like that, but the adults can appreciate two good comedic actors and their timing and the delivery.
Absolutely, it's great stuff.
Alison's home following a conversation with a friend back in her old town. She throws the stone and it hits her wall mirror. There's some blue lightning when it hits, and it seems to create a portal to another time. And inside there is a boy writing with a feather, quill, and pen, which confuses Alison, and she calls to him, and he seems to hear it. She picks the stone back up, and the mirror becomes normal again. This is where this is a part of the episode where I wasn't necessarily. I was like, shit. I didn't know where this was going initially, but I didn't love this. I was like, oh no, please don't do a whole time travel, make a friend in another time thing. Didn't really fancy it. Felt like it was also like halfway through the episode now, which meant there was never going to be enough time to make this matter. But unfortunately, you can't always get what you want.
That's true. I kind of felt the same way actually. I was hoping it'd maybe go a different direction, but I did appreciate the effect, also the mirror effect with the the old-timey room and stuff, the old aesthetic they made for this room to give it that sort of the contrast between the time period she's into then. I thought it was done quite well otherwise. Yeah.
I think they do a good job of making like a separate room and a doorway look like a mirror world. Like I think they did a good job as well. I was impressed. But of course, before she can take that in, the man in black now arrives outside her window calling her name. He tries to hypnotize her as she asks who he is and what he wants. He tells her that she has the amulet and that he wants it back, but she covers her eyes and backs up, falling through the mirror with the stone in hand. A good scene, a good way to continue this story. I do question the man in black's methods. So I feel like there's a really simple way to have done this. So she wanted to give the stone back. Now, I know at the time he didn't know it was her, but he now does. Hey, I'd like that stone. I will give you £5,000. I'll give you, I'll give you the money you paid for it. I'll give you $100. There are probably ways to get it simpler than this. Do you know what I mean? And rather than just being like, and it's almost like he's taken on the form. And I think this kind of works to a degree because the whole point is he's a monk who's lived for centuries. And it's almost like because of that, he will be so detached from reality that his natural inclination is just to be evil. I'm like, okay, that works.
Clearly.
So she ends up in the bedroom of the young boy, who with his slingshot reveals that he is Thomas Jefferson Bradshaw, and this is his grandmother's house. The boy demands she leaves, but Alison realizes that she's gone back in time. She tells Thomas about the stone, which he is weirdly dismissive of, and finds that the year is 1892. This is all, I know we don't have time for this. I know we don't. But this is all really, really, everybody just takes this in a stride, man. Like, he's just like, oh, strange person in my house, don't think nothing of it. And she's like, oh, I've time traveled, don't think much of this. And I know it's like, we don't have time to have people questioning this and running around and stuff like that. But like, man, it doesn't quite work for me.
No, but I do think, as you're saying, it's a time constraint thing for sure.
Agreed. Turns out they're both an only child and they both don't have any friends. Tom is an orphan and he lives all alone with his strict grandmother and she never lets him out of the house. They become friends and Alison invites him to visit her time, thinking he'll love movies and video games. Before they go through the mirror, though, Alison remembers the man in black. Tom tells her, look, don't worry about that. I'm a good shot with my slingshot and he can protect her. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. I feel like, again, more time. These two could have been really cute and adorable together, like friends across time with messages left. Because I think they could have done a story here, even at the end, where she's able to visit him. And that's how they kind of stay friends. She visits him in his time. And when she has to go back, he leaves messages for her and things like that. I think there are ways to have done this. We'll get to the ending anyway, but like with not enough time, they can't develop this properly. No disrespect to the actors. I think they're both doing the best they can. And even he's kind of adorable in his own way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think this could be developed and a lot more. The pacing could be better of it. You know, they could have had her discover the mirror at an earlier point in the episode. So she's been going back there repeatedly over maybe throughout time. Maybe every time she goes back there, time kind of like changes, like the time, time, the way time passes is different between the two passages and stuff like that. It could have been so many different ways they could have done it. But like you said, doing the best they can with what they have.
Agreed. So they do go through the up in Alison's house, but from his perspective, it doesn't look much different. The bell rings though, and it's Sardo come to warn her. It reveals her that the stone really is a powerful amulet called the Amulet of Ankara. The amulet belongs to an evil monk named Brother Septimus, which is the man in black. He was supposed to have been hanged in the 15th century, but he escaped and he's on the loose. I like this touch of Sardo's character. It's what we've seen before. It's like a reminder. Yeah, he is technically a piece of shit who basically scams people, but he's not a villain. And he does worry enough that he feels he needs to warn her of the danger to come to her house and tell her. I'm cool with that. It creates the level of, okay, He's a cheeky chap. He's a scamp. A scamp.
But at heart, he's a good guy, and he cares about the fact that she is now in danger. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Say his name and he appears. Brother Septimus jumps in. That made me fucking laugh. It's a literal dialogue of say his name and he appears, and he does appear. And he literally jumps in from the side. That had to have been a purposeful joke. Like, just jumping from the side, it'd be funny. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm here. He grabs Sardo and Alice and Tom run away in fear. Brother Septimus threatens Sardo to retrieve the amulet for him. If not, he threatens to slice him open and serve him to the rats of the abyss. And it's just like, so again, it's played as a more comedy moment, but this is that ouch comedy line, you know?
Mhm.
Tom and Alison work to keep it out of Septimus' hands, and Alison and Sardo end up going through a mirror back in time. And Alison reveals the stone's ability to Sardo, who is impressed, but mainly because he thinks he can get rich from it. Classic Sardo. He ends up trying to see how it works by a mirror, though, and ends up falling through it as Septimus comes through the other side. So now, nice little bit of timing there. I guess Septimus was pressed up against the mirror as he comes through, and so they kind of just go past each other. It just about works, you know. We get the semantics of it, but considering it's magic that we don't understand, why bother pulling it apart? Septimus closes in on Alison and demands the amulet, threatening her. Tom comes back through the mirror too, though, and threatens Septimus with a slingshot. Of course, the boy is no match for the evil monk, and he starts to hypnotize him. While doing this, he reveals that without the amulet, he hasn't been able to travel back and forth through time. Therefore, it's been far too long since he's claimed a victim's life. He then takes off his glove to reveal the maddest weapon I think I've seen in this show. It's like a
Mhm.
Doctor Who style thing, the sort of thing you'd expect from that. One really long nail that's like super sharp. I guess it's like sliced people. I kind of loved it. I thought it was really imaginative.
Yeah, I mean, that was, if you'd asked me what do I think is this guy's weapon of choice, the last thing I was expecting is them to have a really long sword-like fingernail. So it's certainly creative. I definitely applaud that.
It is creative. That's it. It's creative. I'm really pleased. And as he closes on Tom, Alison calls it a Tom, who snaps out of his trance, and she then jumps on Septimus's back, and they both fall into the mirror at the same time. Tom shoots the amulet at the mirror. She even has Alison even has a he is a pun. He says checkout time. Cool. And in a flash, Alison is home with Sardo. Wondering what happened, they see that Septimus is trapped in one of the shattered pieces, an abyss of some kind. In another place, Tom calls out and they say goodbye, glad they have become friends. Okay, if I'm going to have to be critical, it's here. I don't get this. So,
Mm.
destroying the mirror with the amulet at the same time as Alison and Septimus fell through, um, obviously trapped Septimus in some sort of void. Why didn't it trap Alison then?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't fully understand that because she was on his back. Now, I would have shot this differently and maybe had them both fall against the mirror, but then you see Sardo grab Alison,
Mm.
separating her from Septimus, and
Yeah.
that could have
Yeah.
saved that.
I didn't even pick up on that, but you're absolutely right.
Then, likewise, why is Tom saying his goodbye? So, like, isn't the amulet still in his side? Couldn't he then use that amulet at another mirror? Like, I don't fully understand that either.
Good point.
Anyway, they do notice, Alice and Sardo notice another carving on a wooden bench near the window. And the carving is a heart with the words Alison and Tom, friends forever. And as Gary ends the story, he says the amulet was gone, and Brother Septimus was never seen again. Alison would never forget the first new friend she made in her new home. Criticism aside there at the end, this is fucking fantastic. And Gary redeems himself in a stunning way. It's a great story. It's one of the best magic stories they've done. One of the most enjoyable from a character and acting perspective. It's funny, it's silly, it's told well enough to hold my attention. For 24 minutes, well, 22, outside of the opening and exit credits, I was entertained. And that is all I want to be. I was entertained.
Yeah, I mean, you've absolutely nailed it right there. I thought it was like a nice little wrap up there with the ending with the carving, and it did make me kind of wonder, like I always do, I guess, with these episodes, is what the hell happened after? I mean, it didn't really solve necessarily her. issue with having friends and whatnot. Maybe they could have had a little thing at the end there. I know she made a friend and all that kind of stuff. I get the sentiment, but again, still she's kind of left in a friendless state, kind of like where she's begun almost. Maybe she learned something along the way. I don't know. But yeah, on the whole, it's a super solid episode. You got two really great comedic actors who've got great timing, working off each other, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So I agree with what you said. That I think they missed a trick by adding and it could have been a 10 seconds worth of scene, which is Gary just saying, "Oh, and Alice made some friends." And we cut to maybe Alison walking down the street as she passes Sardo's shop. She looks in to see him haggling with a young boy
Hmm.
over the counter, and that just says life carried on. You know what I mean? Like she had friends, so those like life and carry. I feel like that you missed a trick there. The only flip side of that is then it might have made it seem like it was like very final, and you don't need to be doing no final stuff just yet. But the fact we both enjoyed it, and that's a rarity for these magic based episodes.
It is a rarity. So good job, Gary, I guess.
I guess. Well, finally got one right.
Yeah.
Episode 7, The Tale of the Carved Stone. What do you reckon? You agree with this one? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.